Dan Walker. Pastor Walker is a sound engineer who truly knows what he is doing. You can reach him at 781-367-1338. That's 781. Well, we are live on the air. This is Pastor Bruce Wall, and you're listening to Morning Inspiration, heard every Monday through Friday right here on the Boston Praise Radio and TV network. Today, I have a special guest in the studio with me, and we're going to spend some time talking about what is called estate planning. And so I want to welcome Curtis Chambers to the studio and to Boston Praise Radio. How are you this morning? And I see that you have the sniffles just like I do.
That's what December brings. Good morning, Pastor. Yes, thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
You know, I knew about estate planning, a little bit about estate planning before you started talking to folk in the church about it and my family. But since I've been engaging you and listening to you and doing a little bit of research, not a whole lot, I'm learning more about estate planning. So can you tell me how you actually got on the Boston Praise Radio and TV radar, or my radar, or Karen's radar? How Karen was the one that introduced me to you. How did she get on your radar?
Great question. I work with Karen, and we had some conversations about, maybe it was open enrollment time. People start having these conversations about benefits or things of that ilk, or maybe because of the COVID crash, the Black Swan event, things took a dive for some folks. So I'm always listening and tuning my feed to receive information, whether it's on my social media, my email inbox, YouTube, things of that ilk. And so when I start hearing things, I start sharing and asking questions of the people I know. And just in general, just in passing, nothing deep, because I'm not a financial advisor. I don't give financial advice. I'm a financial counselor. And so I started having these conversations to see who else is having these conversations. And when I asked her a question just about, did she know, not about anything personal, like, hey, what's the amount inside your retirement account, or how prepared are you? Do you at least know your numbers? And the look on her face is just kind of stopped in the tracks. So I think anytime you're like kind of hesitating, humming and hawing, then you're like, I think we need to reevaluate. You should know your numbers. You should know certain things like, hey, am I cash flow positive? Meaning at the end of the month, do I have a surplus, or am I using credit cards to float me by, to continue my lifestyle? Things like that. So when you ask certain questions and you get a response that's not like firm and sure or confident, then there was some work to be done. And that started a couple years ago, and that brought us to me meeting you, and of course coming in front of the church, because if she had those type of questions, and I know other people do as well.
It's funny, when you ask that kind of a question to somebody who really doesn't have the answer, we all start doing a back take, and we're hoping that you don't catch us, but you automatically catch us, because you can tell by how people are responding that they're looking for words and looking for thoughts.
Are you telling me I should play poker? Because I can have tells. I can tell.
So the Karen had got up in the service on this past Sunday and made some comment about her 401. There was something. Could you explain to the audience a little bit about that?
Absolutely.
What she was asking.
Yeah, most people have the retirement accounts there in one of two places. If you work for a for-profit company, then you have a 401k retirement plan. That's just a statute, the code in the law. So that's statute 401k. So now it's known in everyday vernacular, my 401k plan. That's your retirement plan when you work for a for-profit company like Coca-Cola or IBM or things of that nature, State Street Bank. If you work for a nonprofit, it's the code is 403b. And so we were talking about the 403b, and so you're contributing to your retirement account. It used to be we had pensions. You would have a way of knowing that in my retirement, I'm being taken care of, myself and my partner, my spouse. There's going to be monies after I retire till I breathe my last, and then it's going to go to, my partner. Not so. About 30, 40 years ago, it was put in our lap. So now we're unsophisticated investors, totally in the blind, just pushed into the deep end and say, here, good luck. Choose from one of these funds, do what you need to do. The company does not your company that you work for does not help you out. They just say, hey, there's your options. Somebody will come out and let you know, hey, it's open enrollment time. But there's no one saying, not even telling you what to do. I'm just saying, is it a good time to take a look? So you're just left to your own devices. And that's where our conversation, the nexus of our conversation was, man, it kind of stinks that you're left to your own device for something so important because we're living longer. And so you need to know, hey, are there fees in this thing? If so, what are the fees? What should I be investing? What does a 2025 fund look like, or the 2050 fund? Does that mean something that's retiring in that year? Or there's just so many questions, and who's there to answer them? So we're just kind of left on our own to swim or sink.
I had mentioned to you that I was looking at my will because I knew that I needed to make some changes, and I was reading it, and I saw some of the beneficiaries in that will, and I said, we don't have a relationship with that person anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this person is deceased. And I was saying, I need to do something to update the will. And then I was reading a little bit further on my will, and I saw my 2 sons mentioned in the will as beneficiaries, but I didn't see my daughter. And I said, I know she's in here somewhere. So I kept reading. My daughter is not in the will. The will was crafted and finalized before she was born.
Mm-hmm.
So Karen and I never thought to look at that to say she's not included. How many times do you find people making that kind of mistake?
All the time, unfortunately, because there's a subsection of people, a lot of people don't even have a will, right? So kudos to you for even doing that and taking that step. In our community, black and brown, it's unfortunately maybe 70% of the people don't have a will at all. So the fact that you did that is great. Unfortunately, you did that 30 plus years ago, and she came into being in 1995. You did that probably in 1993. And so I've seen a lot of people in that similar circumstance. They think it's like a set it and forget it. We're going to put it with the mothballs in a corner somewhere. Yeah. And it should be looked at least every 3 years. If you can do it every year and just take a look at it and say, hey, what has changed in my life? This might be a good time of year. People take days off towards the end of the year, while you're doing your resolutions and things of that ilk. You can also look and say, what has changed? Do I have a new addition to the household? Has there been a change? Did I gain any assets? Did I lose anything? Do I trust this person? Did someone succumb to substance use disorder? So I don't know if I want that person to get a windfall potentially. So that's why the will falls short, because if any of those things come into play, I may want a trust, so that way I don't try to give someone a cash windfall or something that they're not ready for. Let me put some governors in place. That way I can say, if you do this, then you get this. Or when you accomplish this, we see TV shows or movies all the time. Hey, go get your degree and then come back. You want to have as much control as possible. It's not about just for after you die. This is something that's while you're alive. That's why I talk often about the revocable living trust, because these are the things that are in place while you're here.
Okay, we have a caller on the line. We'll go to that caller in just a moment. But before we go there, when you said that it's during this season, people might take some time off, and maybe that's the time when they need to look at their legal papers, their will. Curtis, people don't want to look at the will. Unless they were dying, people don't want to look at it because they're trying to stay away from that inevitable experience. So how do you motivate people if they had the will to put the document together? That's kudos, it's good. But how do you help people to stay with it because they don't want to look at it?
It's challenging. It's not going to say that there's something that's super easy. This is why the work that we do is so important as financial coaches and counselors. An advisor is just like, hey, I'm going to do this for you, or give me your money, and if I'm an investment person, no, I don't want to take it off of you. I want us to have these conversations and do like other cultures do and bring someone up, the junior, the young ones, the loved ones, older generations, and have these discussions, because a lot of times there's a lot of taboo and stigma around having these. We don't even talk about what we make. We don't talk about what we paid for the car. So all these silence, when they say silence is violence in other genres, it is the same thing, because it continues to perpetuate, who's winning when we do this? Who's winning when we don't talk about it? Who's benefiting from that? You have to really have those conversations. So what I like to do is, and Daisy just did a bang up job when we were speaking at William James a few weeks ago, and having what they call it a date night, make it fun. And date night doesn't have to be romantic. one person versus the other. It's like, oh, all of us are going to get together and hang out just like we would with a Super Bowl party, and let's get our stuff together. Let's be encouraging each other and correcting each other's crowns and say, hey, I'm not looking at your stuff. We're just doing it together. We're all in this room. We're going to get some ice cream, or we're going to get your favorite buffalo dip, or whatever the case is, and make it a fun thing instead of just this crazy thing.
Buffalo dip?
That's my love language. Just so y'all know out there what to get me if you can cook.
Let's go. If we can bring this caller on. Caller, you're live on Boston Praise Radio. Who are we speaking to?
Dimitri. How you doing? Can you hear me okay?
Doing well. We can hear you.
Good morning, sir.
Now,
Good morning,
did you call in to ask a question? Did you call in to make a contribution?
Or troll me?
Well, definitely not a troll. Actually, Curtis is a good friend of mine, and we've done a lot of business together. And, what he said, especially towards the end, it hit home because, not thinking about, a will or estate planning when it's only too late. And it is true, like you said, the fear of, dying or what happens. Some people, emotionally, and I come from a spiritual background, raised Catholic Christian, and my mom was that, very, Christian. But that decision when I tried to have her do a will, she struggled because I don't want to think about dying.
Yeah.
And she died without having one in place and caused a lot of hell for me and my family because of what in turn what happened. So I definitely can resonate with Curtis and what he said about that because we have to really consider, it is real.
I appreciate you sharing that. A lot of times I respect all cultures. That's why the work that I do, before you get into what people have to know that you care and you really took time to learn about certain cultures and customs and things of that nature. You come into certain households, get your shoes off, or if we cook something, I can't turn you down. Even if I ate right before, I'm going to at least try to get a couple of bites. Just little things that will endear you to someone so they can hear you about what you know. And it is a challenge because a lot of the cultures and the households that I'm in, they don't want to talk about those things. It's taboo or there's a superstition. And I'm sometimes when I build up that rapport, will playfully say, well, if we don't talk about this, will I live forever? Because you just mentioned that, I don't want to talk about this like as if you're bringing this pall over your head or some sort of jinx onto you. The jinx is not having it, that the negative situation is not having because there's a fallout. We talk about probate, or we will on this show in a second here about what happens if you die, what's known as intestate. So I'm going to get a few buzzwords today, and I will keep repeating so you can start to learn two of them right there, probate and dying intestate, which is without a will.
Caller, any other questions you want to ask?
How do we get more information about what you're talking about? Because I think a lot of people, there are resources out there, and what services are access to you to get more information. If someone needed to get that, would be appreciated.
Well, definitely, I'm going to shine a light back on you. You didn't say much about yourself, but following folks, who are in the know. This is a person that helps sharpen me, when it comes to investments, when it comes to crypto currency, which is another scary unknown. It's just another way to support yourself or to make sure that you're good and fortified. So one way is to continue to plug into programming like this, because the aim and the new campaign or the renewed force, Dimitri and everybody else, is to not rely solely on whether it's the schools who don't put any of this information in there, whether it's, where we used to think, the bank's got our back. They're just going to give you some surface level information, which is great. But how do we roll up our sleeves and talk about the day-to-day interaction? So the church is where we're going to get back to this information and learn from each other, because the schools are taking things out of the school books anyway. So we want to, whether if your church is a church that's a teaching church when it comes to things like this, like Global Ministries Christian, like GMCC is, like myself, you can follow me, CLC Consulting 13 on Instagram. And Dimitri, if you haven't hung up yet, I would love for you to share your information, because you're a bastion of knowledge as well. So, we want people to have more information, not less.
Sure. So, the last 30, 40 years, I've worked a lot with small business and entrepreneurs because I understand the value of, growth, because what you're talking about is the foundation building block of that. And we build upon that by creating a plan of action, but also a legacy, because at the end of the day, it's about that legacy. And so I've been focused on, looking at investment because, it's one thing for us to, it's too much, but we need somebody like Curtis, like myself, and others who has the other resource information, because it is a lot to learn. Early in the morning, I'm looking at investments. I'm reading, sharpening my mindset for education. So I spend a lot of time, looking at modern investments like cryptocurrency, like pre-IPO investments. Creating development courses to help small businesses and people in between bridge the gap. And I've realized, the last few years, I'm truly that middle person of closing the gap of information and trying to make it like Curtis is doing right now, common sense, just common conversations, not complicated terms that make you feel like, I need to get a college degree to understand what he's talking about,
Right.
So trying to do that, work on with individual small businesses to help them move forward, because we have to look at the economy and the growing world change that's taking place. I was just on Curtis, have you seen what happened in the news this week where Germany and Canada talking about the government collapse? I was thinking about myself, it's not the economy they said. They said the government. That's
Right.
a whole different game.
It is.
So it's stuff like that I educate myself on and try to be informed to help other small business owners that need to understand, like I said, share with a business colleague this morning, that you really about this thing that, no, it's not about the money for me. It's about the education and making money moves and making, a sound position. Because we work hard for our money, but do you know what is happening to your money?
Right.
And that's the gap of difference. And I appreciate Curtis for taking the time to actually inviting me to make that, share a little bit and as well as contribute, because every little bit of information is valuable when you learn to how to apply it properly.
Absolutely. And I appreciate your contribution, because Dimitri, what you said earlier was about legacy. What are we going to do? Because right now, when I talk about this work, I talk about the foundation, and it started when I saw some jarring statistics about the life expectancy gap between someone that was in that study, and they did it all around the country. So they did it for places that would be relevant and germane to you. And when they did Roxbury versus the Back Bay, which is not even another town, it's just a part of town 2 miles up the road, and it said, hey, a kid born in Roxbury will expect to live to about 62. The kid born in Back Bay and lives there will live to about 94, 95. And it's like, what the heck could be happening? That would be a 30-year gap. And you started looking back at the adverse childhood experiences, the lack of access to resources, to, whether it's the specter or the pall of homelessness, scarcity, that scarcity mindset, the impact on your brain. There's a real impact. And on that brain, when you start doing things under that scarcity pall, you make decisions that you probably wouldn't if you were at a baseline. So that work brought me to understanding what are some of the things that we're doing and not doing. And that's why we're here where we are today. So I appreciate you sharing that, sir. And thank you for calling in.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Talk soon.
Good work.
Thanks for being with us. Bless you.
Oh.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
One of the things that I've been saying, and I wrote in my notes, that the church needs to become more self-sustaining, independent from the city, the state. For example, the Nation of Islam has been talking for years about growing our own food. Minister Farrakhan has been talking about that and attempting to teach the nation how to grow their food, nurture that food, and distribute it to their people. We need to have our own businesses as a church. There are some churches that purchase an entire plaza,
Mm-hmm.
and they have hair business, healthcare businesses. We need to go back to something like that.
Absolutely.
There's a church, as I mentioned to you before, in Brockton that has its own credit union, has had it for years. Estate planning, why can't that be a part of the curriculum in the Bible Institute, that you have your Bible classes, but you have a class on estate planning and people can rotate? There's so much more that the church can do, and the church has to do it.
Agreed.
The days of dancing and shouting on Sunday morning and no information being given, that has to be passé if we are going to survive in the next 4 to 5 years. Well, I don't know why the phone's ringing, but let's...
I've been giving the phone number out.
Oh, okay. Caller, you're live. Caller?
Good morning.
Good morning. Who is this?
This is Dr. Juanita Grant. How are you today?
We're doing well. Do you have a comment?
I just wanted to thank Brother Curtis for sending, for being on today. And I didn't catch the whole broadcast, but I wanted to make sure that I supported him in everything that he does. He is very powerful in ensuring that each and every person gets the information needed to be a blessing to their families. And I just wanted to make sure that I was able to call in to thank him and to wish him and his family an amazing holiday this year. And all of those listeners here on the call as well.
Dr.
Thank
Juanita
you
Grant.
for all you do.
Don't
Yes,
go.
sir.
Don't go anywhere. Dr. Grant is a friend of mine, and she knew my wife before I did. So, but from a past life for both of them, and when Daisy was in high school, and so she's an author. You heard her name and her title, so she's well accomplished and a great colleague and ally in this work. And she brings to mind exactly, the type of person that this is for, this information, because a colleague of mine, Chooks, is a financial advisor, and he talks about, hey, having a Roth IRA, three-legged stool, like how we have this tripod here, having that Roth, having
And let me
Go ahead.
interrupt you.
Absolutely.
That tripod has your camera on it.
so you want me to look in there and
you-
really
then
drive it
people-
home?
People think that you're talking right to them when you go to that camera. Go
Gotcha.
ahead.
And
the camera's only
if they're
you,
on,
it's not off.
and this is for the feed for YouTube and Facebook and everything.
Right, and it's recording this.
Awesome. Appreciate that. So yes, I will look right at you. So yeah, I mean, Chuk says, Roth IRA, a life insurance that has cash value, like an IUL, Index Universal Life Insurance, and a business. And so this is the embodiment, Dr. Grant, as a person who is a homeowner and an author. So you have a business, and a lot of people don't think about it. If you're writing a book and you're publishing, that's a business, and you should have a business, because in addition to your job, if you have a day job where you get your benefits and things of that ilk, we already see what's happening out there financially. Inflation is that silent killer of our wealth or what have you, and it's hard to keep up. So you need to have something that gives you an opportunity to take advantage of the tax code. And again, no financial advice given. I'm telling you what I've heard. And so, Dr. Grant is someone who's doing it on her own and has a loving heart and has, fostered children as well, many, and impacted people's lives. So it's important that we have that foundation, that steady source of income to have, make sure that we're not stressing, because when you're off your kilter, off your square, then you're going to do certain things that you normally wouldn't do that have an impact on those children's lives, and then it continues to perpetuate. So this is exactly what we're talking about. So Dr. Grant, you didn't miss much of anything. We're just getting started, and I thank you for calling in. And you want to share a little bit about, yourself in the books that you've written. That would be great, because I want people to know that you don't have to do something earth-shattering to start a business. It's whatever you're good at or have a passion about. So if you're still there, that'd be great for you to share with us.
Thank you for the opportunity to share on today. What I do want to share, as youth, we have hopes and dreams and desires and wants. And as a young person, it was really important. I wanted to write books. I wanted to write plays. I wanted to inspire and encourage people. Growing up, things weren't always easy. I've seen a lot that I probably should not have, more than a lot of kids. I've seen abuse. I've experienced abuse. But I did not allow it to change my life. I stayed encouraged. But I promised God, because I knew him at a young age, that I would continue to inspire people wherever I went, that I would continue to love on him and hold on to him no matter what. And my first book that I wrote in was Game Changer Life. And in that book, we all got together and decided to share with the world the things that have impacted our life. Although they were unfavorable from time to time, it got us to where we are today. Sometimes when you fall, you learn tools that will get you through, that will bring you to where you need to be. And God allows us to go through things so that we can encourage others. How can we teach people about life if we haven't experienced it or lived it? So each book that I write is to encourage a mother, encourage a father, encourage a youth, to let people know, no matter how deep the stains of their sins, that they can be healed and they can be made whole and they can be successful. The books that I'm writing on currently on being a foster parent. There is a great need for foster parents around the world. There are children who are being taken away from parents who are going through using drugs, getting high, just whatever the case may be. Some incarcerated. We need you to step up and step out to inquire about becoming foster parents. We need good homes for children that are safe, where they can grow and be great. And be great. We have so many great people who can teach and pour into the lives of these youth. And that has been my passion, teaching parents how to survive, how to be financially stable, how to start businesses. There are so many different great things that we could do to be an asset and not a liability in the lives of our people today. And it is so important. And that's one of the reasons why I ensure that anything that Brother Curtis does, I try my best to support him when available. And that's why I made it a point. I was on the prayer line this morning, praying for those in prison, praying for those who are locked up, those who are home alone, who have nobody to check on them. These are the things that are so passionate within my life and my family's life. So I just thank you all for taking the opportunity. And Brother Curtis, thank you for allowing me to speak and to just to point out, we need you, families around the world, to step up. We need more foster parents to take in 1 or 2 children so that they can live amazing lives. And if you know someone who's struggling with drugs and alcohol, let them know that Jesus is the reason for the season. Amen?
Amen. Juanita, listen, don't go anywhere just yet. I mean, think about all the things, Pastor, that she touched on. I'm going to start with the fact that she has that loving heart and that openness to bring people into her household. That's not an easy task and an easy endeavor, and she is a homeowner. And so when we talk about the estate planning, I don't want something to happen where you lose that, because if you don't have a plan, someone else does, and you don't like, you probably won't like that, and then the legacy falls flat with the end of her life when she goes on to glory. The property's not there. You're not saying you can't be a foster if you don't own this big immaculate space or what have you, but it lends itself, right? You have an asset, you have something that is a buffer when there's times that are tough, that because we're all going to face some sort of mental health challenge statistically at some point or another. And when you do, is it something that completely wipes you off? If you have an asset, if you have that home, then it can, help you stay in the ball game. And it's not just a home, but in this case, the home is huge. So that way she can continue to have a space to bring people in and have folks, be able to have some space to do their thing. Because sometimes we're just crowded. We're just all together. And things happen when it gets a combustible mix, when we're just too confined or what have you. So I would hate for her to lose that property, to lose that. So you want to have these things properly protected so that you don't have to worry about somebody coming in and taking it from under you. Because as you see, I still remember when a client told me like 15 years ago, the offer that was made to her blew both of our socks off. Single family home. It was nice. It was nothing crazy. But the number that was offered, that let me know that things were changing. And so people were trying to take these homes from underneath you so they can knock that down. You'll never see single family homes like that again. You'll see condos put up so we can charge you $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, and it's a whole nother tangent. But so I don't want that to be the case, so she can keep that in her family lineage. This is what we want to do. This is why we educate. Going back to your question about how do you talk to people about that, you share stories like this. You notice how I'm the guest, but I'm always turning and reflecting that light to whoever's calling and what they're doing. And so you see there's some awesomeness, there's some genius. Their tribe is your vibe. Who do you keep around you? Take stock of who's in your circle, who's backing you, because you want people like that around you so that you can encourage each other and make sure that no one's coming in to infiltrate and knock that off the pedestal, so to speak. And a shout out to my brother Mike Curry, because I was going to talk about when she said people incarcerated, life after prison, man. I've been wearing this ever since I got a chance to meet this brother and get the band. But Mike Curry allowed me to get into the prisons with him and educate on financial wellness. And so if I would love if you could call in, brother, and share some information, because he's changing the world. You talk about change agents. This is why we have the people that we have around us. So I'm going to text you the number so you can call in if you can. But Dr. Juanita, I appreciate you for what you're sharing.
hmm and again, I thank you for the opportunity. I'm with IPM Ministries, and we go in on Wednesdays, and we work with the men and the women in the prisons, and just talking and encouraging them. And I also shared with them, what is your plan? What are you going to do when you leave here? Don't wait till you leave to write the plan. Write the vision and make it plain. Start now. And I really emphasized that last night. If you start with writing it down now, where do you want to be? What do you want to do? What do you want your children to glean from this? Even though they did serve time, there's things that you could teach your children so that they can do things better, so that they don't end up where you are. What are you going to do to set that example within your children? And I'm very grateful that a lot of them were writing last night. I just want to see change, Brother Curtis. I want to see change, and I want to make sure. And even thank you for sharing about my home, because my prayer is that somebody steps up and pays my house in full so that I can have the deed to continue to bless these young people, because it's maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
And as a single person, you have you know me, and you know my love and my passion for children. I have 2 seniors right now who are going to school, and I'm trying to assist. No, excuse me, I'm not trying. I am assisting with college applications. We're looking for scholarships, making sure that they have a full ride so that they don't have to struggle, so that they can begin legacy planning now for their families to come. And I'm encouraging them to be the best that they can be. Even when I go to their school and I'm talking to the youth, plant those seeds. I'm planting those seeds continually, because I know that they're going to be great, amazing examples and leaders in the lives of many people to come. So, and I'm praying also that God blesses me with a vehicle, paid in full, with the title in my hand.
Speak it.
So that, when those needs are met, and that's why what you teach is important. Because when they learn younger, Brother Curtis, how to prepare, then those needs will be met. That's why these IRAs, that's why all of these things that you teach, and I love your passion, then people will be set up so that they will not be burdened with, how do I take care of final expenses? How do my family get the things that are allocated to them, and they're not fighting in probate court? What you are teaching is so, so important. And I thank you for it. And I encourage you to keep on and continue to teach people to multiply, because there is a greater need in our community like never before. We're always the last to know.
Absolutely.
So please continue to educate and inspire our people so that they will be in a better, not a bitter, a better position in life to turn things around. Thank you.
I appreciate you.
I'm grateful for you and everything that you do.
Well, with your prayers and with your support, I'm going to continue. You know that, and I appreciate the segue, because you threw it right up there for me. Because on the 5th of January, the 12th, and the 19th, we will be at GMCC at 670 Washington Street in Dorchester. We're going to have a series that Pastor's going to share a little bit about in a minute, and the first one is going to be the estate planning. That first session that's what we're going to be talking about. And that second one, to your point, we're talking about funding your future, funding all the things that you're talking about. And so it's not just what we make. Good to have a business, good to have investments, but the old adage of a penny saved is literally a penny earned, right? So if I work a job and I make $100 today, $70 can go towards my future, because we're talking about taxes. But if I save $100 from not having to give it to you in the form of high interest payments and credit card payments and student loans, things of that ilk, then that's a real full 100 that can go towards something else, towards your charities, towards your endeavors, or what have you. So we're going to talk about those things, because I'm noticing now there's a lot more opportunities to go to school for free. So why pay, $1 million just to say that, this university, taught you these classes, when you can do that coursework for 2 years, transfer this over, and now you don't have that student loan over your head. You don't have that debt over your head. So you're not making these decisions with that specter over your head. So that second segment is going to get well into those topics. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate your call. We'll talk soon.
Thanks for calling in and being a part of our broadcast today. God bless you.
Thank you for having me, and God bless you as well.
So, estate planning is our focus for today, and I'm glad you mentioned the dates, January 5th, 12th, and 19th. We have decided here at Global Ministries Christian Church that we're going to have a worship service on Sunday that's usually 2 hours long. We're going to bring it down to 1 hour, and with that additional hour, we're going to have an estate planning hosted by you and your wife, Daisy, and we're excited about this opportunity to motivate and to push the members of the congregation and to push those who are listening to us every day to come out, because they've got to start this process. So let's talk. Define estate. It's a term, but define what estate planning means. I don't want people to be so estate planning, they're overwhelmed with the two words. What does it mean?
Yeah, I mean, you're just taking it as what it means overall. Like, we're not getting too deep or any too complicated. We're planning for the things, you talk about real estate, the properties, the things that I have, the things that are attributed to Curtis, so what have you. So it's not just a home, it's all the things, right? If I have life insurance, if I have, that tripod that you're alluded to, and have anything that has to do with me that I want to make sure that I have a plan for, that I want to execute my wishes, right? So when I talk about a will, it's just me writing down in a document, a legal document that says, these are my wishes. I want to make sure that I have something that I can be ironclad. So I want to have that trust so that I can say, hey, this is what's going to happen. This is something that's not going to be given to the wills or the wiles of the probate process going through the courts, waiting the 2 years. So I just want my estate is anything that's attributed to me, anything that's mine that I have rightful ownership of and claims to.
You said probate court. So how does probate court fit into this? You're talking about estate planning. You're talking about having a will. Where does probate court enter into this?
If you pass away and you don't have something already in place, and we're not talking about something scribbled on a napkin on your mattress or couch cushion like one of our famous legendary singers did, unfortunately, we're talking about having something already set in stone that is notarized and put away and have copies somewhere. Then you're going to go through the courts, and the courts is going to put an officer or put someone in place, an administrator, an executor, and right off the top, you maybe 20-30% is going to go in their fees. That person that has to dole this out, that has to say, hey, do you have any other children? You said you had that will that only had 2 of your children. The third child comes and says, what about me? So that kind of murkies the water a little bit. That's going to slow down the process. And you're going to, it's almost like when you had to put a notice in the newspaper, when I was declaring whether it's marriage, speak now or forever hold your peace, something where we have to give the populace an opportunity to refute what's happening with this estate. And it just doesn't, even a quick process would be 9 or 10 months. And that's very rare. So you're looking at 2 years of someone having to go to court back and forth, wonder what's going to happen. And then eventually we'll say, okay, this is who gets this and this is who gets that. And in that meantime, you're either missing time from work or you're stressed out or you're having to cover bills in hope of recouping on the back end. So I don't know many people in the sound of my voice that is in a position to pay their rent or their mortgage and so-and-so's rent or mortgage rather, while they fight this out. So then it opens up other things.
And if you're in probate court, you have to hire an attorney and pay that attorney to represent you.
Absolutely.
So there's money going out there.
Absolutely.
So again, I know we mentioned it earlier. We were playing a little bit, but why is it that people are so resistant to wanting to do this? for example, my pastor passed away in 2019. I was working with him in planning his funeral for 3 years.
Mm.
It took us 3 years. I have a notebook here at the church under his name, 3-ring binder, thick binder with every single detail in the planning of his funeral and working on his estate. We had an attorney who was on standby whenever we needed the attorney to go over the documents. That was thorough. That we took our time. We didn't run away from some of the issues that you have to deal with. Again, say why people are so resistant to wanting to work on a will or their estate planning.
Well, I guess I'll start by asking you, was that a cheap process with that attorney? Was that something that was done?
The attorney is the attorney for this church,
Mm-hmm.
who is a Christian believer,
Mm-hmm.
who has an office in Lexington, and he did a lot because of the person who was dying. He respected that person. He again lives in Sudbury. It was driving into Roxbury to meet with us whenever we needed him. Very up to the last 3 or 4 weeks of his dying, my pastor, he was still signing documents.
Mm.
So it worked for us. It wouldn't work for everybody.
I was just gonna say I should have asked a better question in terms of what would be the value if the person was keeping a ledger. Your attorney was saying this is what it's worth, what I would charge person X over here, not because of my love, or maybe it was that's his sacrifice or his offering to the Lord doing that work in the relationship. What could he have charged if someone, because everybody else ain't gonna have that hookup?
Thousands. It would have been thousands of dollars for the paperwork, having a legal assistant participate, traveling back and forth, going to the courts and filing documents with the courts. If you don't have anybody like that and you're rushing to get it done, sometimes in rushing to get it done, the courts will say, this person was sick.
Mm-hmm.
He or she was signing papers when they were not feeling well.
In the right state of mind.
Emotionally were
Mm-hmm.
not at where they needed to be. That's null and void.
Yep.
That didn't happen with us.
Absolutely. So to answer your question, I took the long route intentionally because a lot of people are going to say, I don't have $4,000, I don't have $5,000, I don't have $20,000. It's going to be something in that ballpark. You know, it's going to be 4 figures and not just barely $1,000 for most people to take care of that. And that's why people are hesitant to do that. That
you
cost.
did the same thing I did. You were going to use one word. You switched to the next.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. And so I do that from time to time in my own head. So it's weird hearing yourself sometimes. So, yeah, the cost is a factor. And so we talk about that as well. We have a partnership and we have a way for folks to be able to do that and not have to worry about the cost. That's one thing that's huge about what we do. And we'll get into that. I won't specifically name companies or anything here, but we will have an opportunity to do that. And that's why it's something that I'm excited about, because you don't have to worry about that cost.
Okay, so we're talking about a will,
Mm-hmm.
and you're also talking about a trust. What's the difference?
Yeah, I mean, I liken it to the 3 Little Pigs, and I think I showed you a little snippet of some of the presentation that I will be sharing.
Keep going.
You know,
This is your broadcast.
absolutely. No, I understand. You can feel the call. So, yeah, when I think of the 3 Little Pigs, you know, a lot of people remember that. You know, the first pig did not plan well at all. That pig did not have pastor anything. You know, it's a straw house. The wind blows, you know, in New England, the wind can move you. So it's definitely going to move straw. So that's dying intestate, right? You didn't have anything. You didn't have a will. You didn't have a trust. And now the courts are going to come in and just liken that to my son, CJ, who helps me in my business so much. He loves to have all his plushies, his toys, and his electronics, and we're getting ready to go somewhere. I'm like, can you put that in a bag? If you fall, it's going to all sprawl. It might get dirty. Someone could take it. You might lose it under a couch or something like that, under a car. So that's you not having anything at all, and you're subject to the wills of whatever happens. Then you could have the person who has a will, which would be the second pig, who had the house of twigs or wood or what have you, the branches. Lot better than not having anything. You're not feeling the breeze come through the cracks and the creases, but still not 100% ironclad. That's something that if someone has that will, you still have your wishes. It's still subject to those court costs that I talked about. Creditors can come after you and come after your estate and take what they need and what is owed to them. And so you're not 100% there yet, but it's still, again, much better than not having anything, because at least your wishes are out there for someone to say, oh, this is what you would have preferred. Let's see if we can make that happen. The third one, to your question about the trust versus the will, that third pig with the house of brick, that would be the person that has that trust, because now you can prevent probate from even being in your business. This is not going to go into court, which is public. Me and you could go into court today and hear someone's information, hear their business. You can find, you might find some information that can help you do some things that people wouldn't want you to do with that information. That's where identity theft comes in, and things of that nature. So having that trust circumvents the court. There are certain things that we have that circumvent the court, like having a life insurance policy that you've named the beneficiary on. That doesn't have to go through probate court. We already know if you have a bank account and you have a TOD or a POD, payable on death or transfer on death, then you can go into the bank. You don't have to do that trick that a lot of people have to do and use the ATM card and get what they can get out there to kind of keep the bills going. So you want to have a trust in place because it's the one that circumvents the courts, does not have creditors all in the mix trying to take and grab what they can get, and then you get left with what's left. So that's what you want when it comes to the trust versus the will. I'm sorry, I'm just looking here to get some people on. I see Bishop on the line. Bishop Hayes, should put the number in there if you would like to call in to 617-282-0685. Priscilla had asked me earlier about that as well. That's my partner with Family Coaching and Consulting, a nonprofit in the area that's doing some phenomenal work. So I would love for her to call in and share about that. Proud to be a partner on that. Again, 617-282-0685. For those who are just joining us now, just recapping that on January 5th, January 12th, and January 19th, we'll be at GMCC, Global Ministries Christian Center, Christian Church, to have the 3-part series. I call it the Sixth Sense series, so we can intuitively manage our finances. Louis Cito's on the line too. I'm just giving a shout out to the people that are following on Facebook as well as YouTube, because we do have to, speaking of which, me and you're going to talk about that too, brother, getting your will done, getting your trust done, and not having anything, the fallout if you don't have anything in place. And so we start from, in a position of how do we break these cycles? How do we make sure that we have something? It's not always about owning a home. If you have a home that you own, that can go in the trust. Even if you have a home that you have not fully paid off yet, that can go in the trust as well. And so we want to have, I believe, an attorney come out either virtually or in person to answer people's questions live on the spot. This is open to everyone. You don't have to be a member of GMCC. So this is going to be open to the public. It's going to be something that's happening during the service. Service will be truncated from 2 hours down to 1 hour so that people can already make plans to be there, because sometimes other days of the week you have other things going on. But if you already plan on being at church service that day or visiting the church anyway, we just cut that down so that you can already have your face in the place and come be a part of this. Nikki, thank you for chiming in as well. And yes, call in. I saw someone just call. We're going to get you on in one moment, because I would love to. If you have questions on the chat, you can put it in the chat. And I think we had a call coming in, Pastor. If you want to see, I don't know, maybe they're still on hold, maybe not. Appreciate you, Bishop. He said, thank you for my ministry and sharing the knowledge. This is, I'm standing on the shoulders of everyone who's held me up in prayer, given me a platform like Free Flow Friday on Bishop Dan Hayes' site and page on Facebook. So, it's about putting this out here. We want to get that information out. So definitely feel free to call in if possible. And I want to shout out some other people like Dr. Ron Hurd, who was listening in as well. We have someone else now with us. Who's calling us?
Caller, go ahead. You're live. Caller?
Hello?
Yes, go right ahead.
Hi, this is Priscilla. I want to thank you guys for everything you're doing. I'm happy to share about Family Care Partnership and the great things we're doing. We're a nonprofit where I have the privilege to have Curtis as a co-founder, and we are happy to support agency, small, big corporations in understanding will, financial, the trauma, mental health, and working with intergenerational behaviors and family system. I am a mental health consultant and clinician specialized on early childhood and neurodiversity.
I want to talk about the intergenerational piece when you're done. Sorry, I thought you were stopped. My apologies. Continue.
No. Thank you. I was just like, I was hearing Curtis and he's like calling. So I was like, let me just call in and briefly say we work on evidence-based. So everything we do, we start planting the seed, we monitor the seed, and we start sharing the fruit of the seed so people can understand how their continuing support will continue helping them reach that goal.
Right.
So it's a lot of great things happening, and yeah.
Appreciate that.
I hope I haven't missed nothing.
No, this is phenomenal. Glad that you called in, Priscilla. I'm glad for our partnership. Do we have another caller as well?
Yes.
All right. So yes, Priscilla, I won't hold you, but I thank you for calling in. And we have an event that we're going to be at for Mothers for Justice on January 9th at Nubian Square Library. So come on out to that so you can learn more about FCC and the awesome work that we're doing. We work with people in the community-based organizations, and with companies as corporate partners as well as in college campuses. So thank you for that, and thanks for calling in.
Absolutely. Thank you for everything you do and continue to do and the spaces you do. I'm grateful.
Talk soon.
You guys have a good, wonderful day.
God bless.
Caller, go ahead. You're live.
Good morning, Brother Curtis. Peace and blessings.
Hey, sir, what's going on with you? ITY.
Man, I am beyond humble and beyond grateful. First of all, I want to give a big shout out to Priscilla, who just called, who is the reason why me and you was able to connect, Curtis. You know,
sir.
She has been a wonderful supporter of ITY, a true companion for us in this nonprofit sector that we're traveling and trying to bring to the kids, And I'm really, really excited about the work that we're going to get ready to do this summer with the kids and teaching them more education in the financial literacy.
Yes, sir. Talk more about it, because I always try to share anything I see on yours on LinkedIn, because we're all out here, struggling for grants or monies or what have you. So please share that now with this platform, what you do.
Yeah, so my name is Danny Santana. For you guys that don't know me, I am the founder and CEO of ITY, Inspiring Today's Young Adults. Under that umbrella, we run 5 different programs. I'm just going to name them real quick. One of the programs is a youth and adult gang mentorship program. Another program is Returning Citizens Advocacy Program. We also run a youth human sex trafficking awareness program, Feeding the Hungry, and Inspiring Today's Father and Inspiring Today's Mothers program.
I love it.
We do a lot of work in the community with both youth and adults alike, providing different services depending on what the services are. 80% of all the kids that we work with are all court involved with open cases. The majority of them have open gun cases, open robbery cases. A good 70% of my kids are all on IEPs. For you guys that don't know, that's a learning disability.
Mm-hmm.
Those are for kids that it's harder to comprehend when normal kids are able to comprehend without an issue.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate you sharing that. I'm going to my son's IEP meeting right after this radio broadcast, so we can't hide those things. We want to be transparent, because when the shame and blame goes down, then the discernment can go up. We can learn. So I appreciate you sharing open and honestly, and I hope everybody starts to see the connectivity. He mentioned Priscilla and gave her light. I mentioned Mike. He knows Mike Curry as well. And so
absolutely, Brother Curry, Stephen Pena,
yes.
Jason, Joseph Bennett, all these brothers that were wrongfully convicted,
Sir.
that spent decades of the years behind bar, that are out here fighting this great fight with me, alongside of me, for restorative justice, for returning citizens rights, to have fair housing, to have fair employment.
Mm-hmm.
This is the work that we're truly doing out here in the streets, and it's just not ITY doing this. There's a re-entry collaborative that's been established in the city of Boston that's going to be more powerful than any re-entry that you've ever seen before, because the players that are part of this re-entry collaborative
Yes,
are the real players from these streets.
Absolutely, Danny. We have a minute left. Can you give us your contact information so we can get some
Yeah,
information?
please look us up, man. We still have 70 kids. We're doing the toy drive. We have 70 kids still in need. There's 25 kids who are autistic. We're asking anybody that can please donate. We're only asking for $5, $10 donations. Please reach us at ityouth.org. You can donate directly to our webpage, and our webpage will go directly to the PayPal or to the Cash App. Please follow me on Facebook and Instagram under ityouth.org, and those are another way for you to donate through the links.
Appreciate you, sir. We will definitely be connecting soon. All right. Have a blessed day.
Absolutely, brother. We'll talk soon.
Bye-bye,
now.
Danny.
Appreciate that, brother. His energy and his passion are unparalleled.
Okay, we have got to summarize. We're coming up against the clock. And again, tell people your name, what you do, and then what's happening on those 3
Absolutely.
Sundays.
Curtis Chambers with CLC Consulting, that private consultancy firm that we work with corporate wellness as well as community-based organizations on financial wellness, financial literacy. We will be talking about estate planning on January 5th and on January 12th.